My thoughts do not mean anything. We are on lesson 10 from a workbook in A Course in Miracles. Hello, I'm Carla, psychotherapist and mindset coach, and on this channel, I help you get unstuck and reach your goals by exploring topics that shift your mindset so you can live your highest potential. All right, y'all, we are continuing the reading of the workbook of A Course in Miracles. This is actually Ken Wapnick's book, Journey Through a Workbook of A Course in Miracles, and we are continuing reading his notes from lesson 10, My Thoughts Do Not Mean Anything. Let's dive in. Lesson 4 stated, these thoughts do not mean anything. As Jesus explains in the second paragraph, he now says my instead of these, thus making the teaching much more personal for us. So lesson 4 said, these thoughts do not mean anything. Lesson 10 says, my thoughts do not mean anything. Our real thoughts would be anything in our right minds, anything that comes from the Holy Spirit. Remember, we have a mind. We can either use it for right-minded thinking or wrong-minded thinking. Right-minded thinking, Holy Spirit, love, true creation. Wrong-minded thinking, ego, destructive, sin, guilt, and fear thinking. So our real thoughts would be anything in our right minds, anything that comes from the Holy Spirit. In this sense, an unreal thought would be, for example, that someone is attacking me. The real thought would be that this is a call for love, and it is a call for love that is shared by me. However, as Jesus is teaching us here, we are still far too identified with our thoughts to be able seriously to entertain what he is saying to us about the thoughts that our thoughts are covering. But we are only on lesson 10 out of 365. All right, so he's saying an unreal thought of the wrong-minded thinking is this person is attacking me. But a real thought would be that this is just the person's call for love, which does not mean when someone is physically attacking you in this 3D realm physical world, you'd be like, it's a call for love. You protect yourself and you be normal, as Ken Wapnick says all the time. This is not about being silly and like saying that's not really what it means. Like when someone dies, he uses so many great examples of like when a loved one dies or a loved one gets cancer or you have cancer or you're sick, saying this isn't real. I mean, it's not real in essence, but you're really experiencing it in this world. Not to make it real on the level of the mind, but people will cry. We might be scared. We might be fearful. And it's just to forgive ourselves for it. Still go to the doctor, still do the medical treatments, whatever you feel called to do in your spirit. But just because we're students of A Course in Miracles does not mean we don't take practical action on the level of form, knowing in our mind that it is all an illusion. Jesus is not talking about what we perceive outside. He is now talking about what we think. Again, it's not about the level of form. The dream, the illusion that we're experiencing is real. Let's be normal. It's in here where the real work. A Course in Miracles is not about making miracles in the world. Yeah, sure, miracles might happen. But it's about the miracle, the shift of perception of mindset from that of a thought system based on fear to shifting to a thought system based on love. The miracle is in here. So Jesus is not talking about what we perceive outside. He is talking about what we think. You can see in these lessons how he goes back and forth in his gentle attempts at convincing us that we are not who we think we are. It is a process that gradually leads us through the labyrinth of our ego's thought system, the seeming terror of the circle of fear he describes in the text, chapter 18 to be specific, section 9. All right, so he's saying that it's a process that gradually leads us through the labyrinth of our ego's thought system, the seeming terror of the circle of fear he describes in the text, to the love of God that happily awaits us just beyond. Paragraph 3 is a nice statement of projection, although the term itself is not used. So he's talking about paragraph 3 in the course, the actual text of the course, My Thoughts Do Not Mean Anything, lesson 10. Jesus wants to understand that our thoughts are nothing. However, we take these thoughts of nothingness and project them because we think they are real. Thus, they are seen as real images in the outside world. Jesus wants us to understand that the thoughts that are now the projected source of our perceptions are not really there. Let's read that again. Jesus wants us to understand that the thoughts that are now the projected source of our perceptions are not really there. Our minds, to repeat this important idea, are filled with thoughtless thoughts or thoughtless ideas because they are based on the ego's illusory thought system of separation. He goes on to paragraph 4 of lesson 10, where it says, close your eyes for the exercise and introduce them by repeating the idea for today quite slowly. This idea will help you to release from all that I now believe. My thought about blank does not mean anything. My thought about blank does not mean anything. This is an example of what it means to look with Jesus at your ego, the importance of which we continually emphasize. The you that looks with no personal attachment to these thoughts, is the decision-making part of our minds, return to which is the Course's goal and the meaning of the miracle that gives A Course in Miracles its name. The process entails standing back with Jesus, watching your ego make a case against someone or yourself, seeing it take a fragment here and a piece from there, weaving together a seemingly complete picture in order to prove you are right about your perceptions of victimization in the world and that everyone else is wrong, including the Holy Spirit. You simply watch your ego in action, an oddly assorted procession going by, its purpose being to confuse us about our identity, making us believe we are a body, not a mind. While Jesus is not giving us his full teaching here, he is laying out basic principles. Finally, paragraph 5 of the lesson, today's thought can obviously serve for any thought that distresses you at any time. This idea will help to release me from all that I now believe. You can see once again the importance generalization holds for Jesus. We are asked to practice with the same gentle kindness he exhibits toward us with our specific misperceptions in order to generalize the principles learned in these applications to all our experiences. This theme continues to reoccur through these early lessons. So good. So this lesson, my thoughts do not mean anything. To close our eyes and just repeat whatever thought comes up, searching, being general, not specifically choosing certain things and not specifically excluding certain things. But as the thought comes up, my thought about blank does not mean anything. For example, I'm driving and I think about Christmas and I think about my mom. This thought about my mom does not mean anything. Isn't that wild? This is such a great training ground. Yeah, so this is just like, very therapeutic when it talks about just an oddly assorted procession going by, just watching. It's like there's exercises in therapy, mindfulness practices, where it's like, a guided meditation, like pretend like you're sitting by a river and every thought is like on a leaf and you're just watching the thoughts pass by, just like leaves floating down a river, and just objectively looking at them, not being attached to any of them. It's just a practice of mindfulness, to be unattached to our thoughts, not get emotionally involved with them. And that's what this lesson is teaching us. I love it so much. I hope you're enjoying this journey. We are on lesson 10. We're going to continue lesson 11 tomorrow, and we are in it to win it. 365, I keep my promises. So I hope you're enjoying your journey through the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Again, I'm reading from Journey Through the Workbook of A Course in Miracles by Ken Wapnick. All the information is below. If you have any questions, leave comments. I would love to engage with you, see how this is going for you. Again, it's not for everybody. If anything here bothers you or triggers you, throw it out, delete this video, don't follow me. But I appreciate the open-mindedness because this is a wild ride. But this is a tool for me that really brings me emotional sobriety. And I've been a student now since 2010. And I continually go back to it. It does not mean that I'm a good student, for sure, because these lessons are wild. I will tell you what. So if you're not grasping it at first or you struggle with it, I feel ya. But again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.